So I want to very personally welcome all of you to this webinar. This is, I'm just calling this the 2020 webinar because it's really going to be the theme of this year. And I'm so excited about it. I have done many webinars over the past 2 years where I've talked about strategy. I've shown what I do. I've shown the basic steps of trading. It's all recorded and it's all available to you guys. You can all have a look at it. It's very, very good stuff. And today I wanted to take a little bit of a different approach. And we're going to talk about what that is. But I'm happy to see everybody. Real quick, some of you we know, some of you we don't know. Just type in where you're from. Bill from Arkansas and Amy from Sydney. And where's everybody else from? Dickens, remind me, are you up in, there you go, Vancouver. That's what I was thinking. Okay, good. Up there in Vancouver, very good. John, my friend from London, good grief, it's late at night for you. Glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. John from North Carolina, welcome, my friend. Patty, good to see you. Dennis from Montreal. Now 1 a.m., no problem. Chetan from India, good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Okay, Sabra, that's Susan from Loveland, Colorado. Susan, do we know each other? I'm glad to have you with us. I usually am pretty good with names, and I feel like we have chatted in a webinar or something. But anyways, happy to have you, Susan. Very, very happy to have you. Vince, my friend from Australia, as always, and for all of our great Australian friends, hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to all of you guys. I know those fires are just terrible, so best wishes to everyone out there in Australia getting hit with those crazy darn fires. Okay, good. Rick from Virginia / Florida. I love it. Chris, good to see you. Glad you could make it. Dory from Sacramento. Excellent. Susan. All right. We talked on the phone. Well, I'm happy to have you back, Susan. I'm happy to have you with us. And Chris from Niagara Falls. Very good. Very good. Okay, you guys. Well, I'm glad we got such a good yeah, Vince, I'm glad we had it this time of day too. I know it's a little tricky sometimes for Australian time zones and the time zones that I meet, and so I'm happy to do an evening webinar for sure. Very, very happy to do it. Okay, you guys, I'm happy to be with you all. It's a lovely Thursday evening for me, Friday morning for some. We have some excellent things to talk about. We're going to get right down to it. Some very, very good things are in the works. So I'm happy to have you guys with us to discuss. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your questions and comments. I want to just kind of do everything. Now, I'm going to admit to something. And I don't like to admit to things because that means, whatever. But I'm going to admit to something, and that is this webinar is kind of going to be dubbed as a two-directional webinar. This is going for all the people that are not members of my trade groups. And this is also going to be for all the people that are members of my trade groups. Because this is something very specifically DayTraders FX-ish that we're going to do this year to make it an excellent year. Actually, somebody found me a shirt the other day that said, Make America Grape Again. So we're going to make 2020 grape. It's going to be a very grape year. But I'm super excited to talk about all the things that we're going to cover here. And like I said, the things that we will cover today are going to be things that are going to apply to members of my trade groups as well as people that are not members of the trade group. And I want everybody to kind of just be on board with all of this. So let's get right down to it. Very excited to be with you guys. Let's go. We're going to talk about how we're going to take control of 2020 with a little bit of trading. This is a big deal, you guys. It might not sound like it, but it is a big, big deal. And I am so excited to talk to all of you guys about this. As always, if anybody's brand new, it's a picture of me and my family. Somebody in the chat said, I look better with the long hair in this picture rather than the short hair in this picture. So apologies for my hair fluctuations, but I was looking through some pictures that we recently had, some family pictures, And this was the one I could get my youngest to smile the most. The rest of the time, she's popping up looking like a mug shot, like she's been arrested recently. So anyways, that's me and the family. This picture was taken maybe 4 months ago. People always want to know, is that recent? Are you a lot older now? Yes, I am a lot older now, but thank you, Susan. Thank you. Anyways, that's me and the family. I've got 3 little kids, ages 1 to 7. So I have a lot of wrinkles. Anyways, that's the family, and they're great. We never planned on having any kids really, but definitely not a 3rd kid. But the 3rd one, this little one, has turned out to be just pure excellence. Now I'm sure she'll turn 2 and 3 and 4, and that's going to go away. But first year and a half been pretty darn great. Great little child. So anyways, that's me and the family. Nice to meet you guys. Here I am, so on and so forth. As mentioned, I've been trading. I always just put 15 plus years because it's like 18 years at this point, or 19 years, or 20 years, or whatever it's been. I don't like to admit that stuff because it makes me feel old, but that's what it's been. So I've been trading for a lot of years. My whole entire professional career has been trading, and it's been pretty fantastic. I actually did sell cell phones for Verizon. I'll admit that. That was like in 2001, maybe, or somewhere around there. And I did it for several months, and it was a wonderful job. That was the last job where I worked for somebody. So then it's been trading ever since. So wonderful experience, been a really good job, really great experience. I've been training and doing consulting and so on for the last 10 or so years, and it's been very, very fantastic. Okay, so now that we've kind of got that out of the way, as we say, let's go to this little detail. Here's something kind of funny. Tell me if this is just me, by the way. Does it feel like New Year's? Keep in mind, let me just double check what the date is. Today is January 16th. So basically, New Year's Day was basically 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, right? We are in the first 3% of 2020, or 5%, or whatever it turns out to be, right? So New Year's was 2 weeks ago. Is it just me, or do you guys feel a little like it never happened? Like it might as well be June right now or something, right? Is it? I feel like when New Year's happens, everyone gets a Christmas break and a New Year's break and all this stuff, right? And then by about January 3rd, it's like it just never happened. We never had a New Year, turnover and so on. And so I'm probably doing the latest of bringing up this New Year's stuff out of anybody. Everybody jumps on it, right? January, 1st and 2nd, someone's trying to sell you something and, hey, you just spent a bunch of money on Christmas, come make it back, blah, 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 right? I wanted to let everyone have a chance to let 2020 sink in a little bit. Plus, honestly, I needed a little break myself. So here we are 2 weeks into this year. We have 50 weeks left, 50 weeks left. And that is a lot of time, and that is also no time at all. It does seem like it was a long time ago, right, Vince? Just seems like it was crazy long ago. But New Year's happens, and if anybody, I'm just curious, by a show of hands here, did anybody, that's right, Chris, huge buildup, and then it's just like, bye-bye. Yeah, crazy. Did anybody make any New Year's resolutions? And you don't have to tell me yet. I'm going to ask you in a second. But did anybody make any New Year's resolutions? Just yes, no, still working on them, thinking about it. What? Nope, none for Chris. Thanks for your honesty, my friend. Anybody else? Did anybody else make any New Year's resolutions? Do you guys have any goals for 2020? Do you have any hopes for 2020? Anything? Any New Year's resolutions? Lots of hopes. Yes, Vince, I hear you. Okay, so New Year's resolutions have actually gotten a pretty bad rap, right? These New Year's resolutions have kind of turned into this whole this whole kind of don't do them because they're terrible, right? We hear all these statistics, right? 99% of New Year's resolutions there's never a follow through. There's never any of that, right? First of all, I mean, how do they know 99%? You know, I guess 99% of the people they talk to, but you know, I mean, it could be 50%, it could be 10%, but we all know for the most part that any goals that people make at the start of the year usually are completely forgotten about by about the first week of the year. I'll tell you a story. I go to the gym 5 days a week, right? Monday through Friday, I go to the gym and I work out. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Muscle Beach or anything, but I got to get some exercise. I do a lot of sitting, and I'm in front of my computer a lot, and I'm at the charts a lot. And if I found myself getting a little irritable, and I thought I need to get a little more exercise. So I go to the gym 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. And the gym has been, you know, I always go at the same time every day. And it's been pretty, you know, I go kind of late morning when the markets have closed down or slowed down, excuse me, when the markets have kind of slowed down. I go late in the morning when kind of the rush is gone, and it's usually pretty empty when I'm there. Well, funny enough, the last 2 weeks that I've been going to the gym, it's packed, right? It's jam-packed. I call it all the New Year's worker-outers, you know, the New Year's resolution crowd is in there, and they're going strong. They're going crazy, right? I can't find a machine to get onto. I can't get on the treadmill. I can't do anything because everything is just full. And I anticipate it to be like that for probably another week, and then it should go back to empty, right? And that's terrible to say, but that's, you know, I've been going to the gym for a long time, and it seems like every year, the first couple of weeks of the year is just craziness. And then it just filters out, and everyone kind of fades away and trickles off and so on. Many of the New Year's resolutions that people make at the start of the year are as follows. Now, this is supposed to be fairly new, and I don't know why smoking's in here. I don't know if people still smoke. 2020, you know, you got vaping. You know, it makes your lungs fall out or whatever. But anyway, that's on the list, right? So I love these. These are some of the most common New Year's resolutions of 2019. 1%, stop gambling. Okay, there you go. 2%, stop drinking. 6%, get more organized. You could probably put me in that 6% for sure. 11%, stop smoking. 14%, save money. 21%, eat healthier. 27%, exercise more. Does anybody have any of those New Year's resolutions? I mean, I think that kind of covers a lot of them. We could all eat healthier. We could probably all exercise more. We could all save a little more money, get a little more organized, all this stuff, right? So these are the things we want to accomplish. These are the things we want to get done. And, you know, I would say that I have absolutely the same kind of mentality as everybody at the beginning of the year. You know, I have a little time off work. You know, I don't look at charts for 2 weeks. I don't do any of that. And I just take an opportunity to kind of sit back and reflect. What happened last year? What did I love last year? What did I not love last year? You know, and it's just, I think we're all so busy. And when we finally just get a couple of days of nothing, right? It's not so much that it's a new year, it's that you have a break and you have a chance to just reflect. And so I always do that. And I did that this year, and I thought, what happened last year? What were the changes I loved and the changes I wanted to have happen? You know, and what do I really see for myself this year? I usually have a theme as opposed to a resolution. I have a theme of kind of how I want to just center things. And that way I don't have to say, okay, did I do this exactly or not exactly or whatever. And I kind of have a theme. And every year I have a little bit of a theme. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. But I think it's important to take the time and to reflect and to think about what could be accomplished this year. We have a big challenge. When we talk to people about a change in lifestyle, it's a tricky thing, right? And this is why New Year's resolutions tend to fail miserably. Because when you talk about somebody's money, somebody's diet, somebody's habits, you're crossing the line, right? Now, nobody talks to me about that stuff but me. And so that's where things are so difficult. And so that's why change ends up happening in these kinds of scenarios in typically one of three ways, right? Number one, you have a traumatic life-altering event, like a heart attack. You know, you've been trying to get healthy and trying to get to the a little more exercise, or lose those 10 or 15 or 20 pounds, or feel better, or whatever. And you just, year after year after year after year, it just doesn't happen, right? You know, the funny thing that we all think about, um, for example, um, I don't know this out of super personal experience, but I've read a few interesting things um, about some of the mentalities in, say, China versus the US, right? Or even versus kind of the Western world, so to speak. And, you know, you always hear this about China, and I know we have some Chinese people in here, and maybe you guys can verify this for me. China is kind of known for taking the long-term play, right? Getting the long-term picture. Whereas we're a little more into what can we do today and this week and this month instead of 10 years from now. And I really like the long-term play. Just like this right here, where we say a traumatic life-changing event hits somebody, and then you have to lose weight, and then you have to start going to the gym, and you have to start getting exercise and so on. But how long did that person know that that was coming, right? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? Time passes regardless. It's going to pass regardless. And what you do today will affect what happens tomorrow and next year and the next decade and so on. I love the saying, and I sent this out in the email, we need to do things today that nobody else is doing so that we can do things tomorrow that nobody else can do, right? So our health, for example, if we don't take care of our health today, when we're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, you know, we pay the price, right? I have a lot of people that are in trade groups and that I talk to and work with and invest money for and all of that stuff. I've got clients that are 75 and 95. And I've definitely had plenty of times where the 95-year-olds are in much better shape than the 75-year-olds, right? And that is, sure, there's some genetics in there, but that comes from life decisions, right? Things that we do today. Regardless, unless you die, 10 years from now is coming. 1 year from now is coming. And what are the likelihoods that you're going to make it 1 year, 5 years, 10 years from now? Probably pretty darn good. I have many times taken the short-term view. I joked earlier about I never thought I was going to have any kids, much less a third child. But I kind of really thought that way. I was so short-term in my thinking. I thought getting married, having kids, that's just too out there. Maybe that's 5 years down the road. Maybe that's 10 years down the road. And I remember thinking about that, and it was 10 years down the road. And guess what? It happened 10 years later. I was still alive, and I got married, and I had kids, and all of that stuff. So the time is going to pass regardless. So what we do today is so crucial. We don't want a traumatic life-altering event to be the cause of our change. But if it is, it's something, right? So that's one way of changing. Getting fed up, right? That's kind of the second major way of changing, right? When getting fed up is kind of this funny situation where maybe you're frustrated with something for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And so you've burned 5, 10, 20 years, and the change happens in an instant. It happens in a second, but there was a 20-year lead up to that 1 second of change, right? It happened. We made the change. We altered our lifestyle, our views, our goals, our whatever, but we wasted a whole lot of time getting there. And then there is the good old-fashioned baby steps. Just do a little something every day, a little something every week, a little something every month. And that's important because all of these, you know, these first two are kind of shock factors, right? You know you should make a change, but you don't, and then you're forced to, and you have to be an object that is not in motion that immediately gets into motion. Or you're so fed up, you're still not in motion, but mentally you're starting to get a little bit of motion, but then mentally and physically you have to take a lot of action to get going. And again, these are both kind of shocking starts. They're both traumatic starts. Baby steps are, let's have some small wins. Let's make some small progress. Let's do some small things. And if I do that today, next January 15th, 16th, January 1st, whatever, of 2021, things will be very, very different than they are today. Okay, everybody good with that? Anyone disagree? Am I totally off base on all this? Let me know. So these traumatic experiences, right? This is not recommended. We don't want to take this route. We don't want to be scared into doing something different. That's just not what we want. Fed up, again, not the most ideal, but it works. It gets us there. This cat is very fed up. I'm not a very good cat person, but I like the grumpy cat. But the baby steps, guys, that's what we're going to really, really focus on and talk about today, is just doing a little bit on a regular basis. This is the goal of today. There's a great book I actually read, and I should have included the link or the name in here. It's called The Spirit of Kaizen. Have you guys heard of that? Anyone heard of that book? It's a really great book. And it's about just doing the smallest one thing every day, right? If you're in terrible physical condition, do one push-up every day. One push-up, that's it. One push-up. And eventually, if you can keep doing that one push-up every day, you might think, I wonder if I could do 2. And then you do 2, maybe 6 months later, and then you do 3. And you're just doing that every day. And it's such small progress, but it has such a massive impact. We have got to get away from the all or nothing mentality. Do we have any all or nothing people here? Any all or nothing people? Just give me a show of typings here. I think this is the funniest picture here because I have kind of been, I've been in this position before. Like, I am not going to take 2 trips. I'm going to get it all in 1 trip. Patty, the book is called The Spirit of, hold on, while I'm here. It's spelled just like that. So I highly recommend everyone read this book, by the way. It's really, really a great book. The Spirit of Kaizen, Kaizen, Spirit of Kaizen. So have a look at that. It's a great, great book. Great book. Everybody should definitely read this. Oh my gosh, there we are. Okay, so back to this all or nothing kind of mentality that so many of us will incorporate, right? And it's kind of funny. Did anyone ever think of, I trade stocks as well. Most of my energy is put into currency trading, but I do trade stocks, options, cryptos on occasion, and so on. I forget what the earnings were for McDonald's this last quarter. This last quarter, but they were high. McDonald's makes billions and billions of dollars per quarter, right? They make tons and tons of money. How do they do that? Do they sell one giant hamburger, or do they sell like 9 billion small, disgusting cheeseburgers? No offense against McDonald's, but it really is a terrible, that's the worst hamburger ever. Anyway, I'm an In-N-Out guy, a little more In-N-Out. So it's all done in these small transactions. It's all done in these small steps that are taken every day, right? Small and simple steps. What does McDonald's do? They make hamburgers, they sell hamburgers. Boom, that's it. So this all or nothing mentality is something we got to be a little bit careful with. John, I heard that In-N-Out has some pop-up stores in the UK from time to time, and they're huge hits. In-N-Out's great, so great. But yeah, we've got to get on board with this, making small progress every day. Because what happens when we're all or nothing? We have huge New Year's resolutions, or we have huge daily or weekly or monthly or yearly goals, and then they're huge goals. The chance of those things working out is 0-ish, right? For some it might, but most of the time it's 0. That leads to frustration, which then leads to giving up, which then leads to blame. It wasn't my fault. I got sick. I got busy. I got money was tight, whatever. Not my fault. Not taking responsibility for it. Then you get feeling stuck. Well, this seems to be the case constantly. I have felt stuck many times in my life. I can sympathize with this so much. I have not achieved goals I have set. I can sympathize with that. Giving up like crazy, I can sympathize with that. Feeling stuck is a hard place to be. It's really a hard situation to be in. And we need to get the wheels turning. We need to get the momentum going when we're feeling stuck. Sometimes all you need to do when you're feeling stuck is brush your teeth in the morning and brush your teeth at night. Make your bed in the morning. Do something do something consistently and start to feel those small small successes building up and start to get the wheels turning, get that momentum back. Because when you feel stuck, then you start having feelings and thoughts of denial. This isn't my fault. The world's against me. There's no way that this could ever work. And then we become skeptical. It doesn't work for anybody. This really doesn't work for anybody. I'm skeptical. Skeptical, by the way, is the easy way out. We never have to open our mind to anything because we just know that it didn't work for me and I tried it and I'm really smart, so it can't work. And that's a sad place to be. And it starts with, usually it starts in a very good, happy place with big goals and big aspirations. And it's usually the ending point of not doing things the right way, right? Not trying to stay consistent with our goals and make the change we need to make so that we can have the life that we want to have. That's right, Rick. Get rich slowly. That's the big one. That's the big one. Good, good. There you go, Patty. I love it. I love it. Playing the long game. That's excellent. That's very, very good. Very excellent. Okay, so this is where the heavy lifting happens, guys. I love this picture. I've used this picture before, and I think it's so great. The heavy lifting must begin, right? But it begins with small steps once again. And that's where I'm going to incorporate this kind of a program with all those that are part of my trade group. We're going to do 3 very simple things every day, every week, every month. And I'm calling this my 2020 program, right? Our first goal as traders, and your first, the first step of any goal is just to do it, right? Just to do it. But as traders, we need to make profit. Second off, we need to add money to our accounts. This is a big deal, and I'm going to talk more about this. Third, we need to stay consistent. These are 3 simple steps that we need to take as traders to achieve the success that we want to achieve. So, first off, make profit. This can be a pretty difficult process, right? This is the only goal of trading. This is the only goal of trading, that the outcome is income, right? So we must make profit trading. Otherwise, it's a really frustrating process. I would never say trading's a waste of time. Even if you don't make money trading, it is certainly not a waste of time ever. But it can be really painful and really frustrating if you are trading and you're not making profit. Like, really frustrating. So remember, there are power in numbers, and that's an important thing. And this is where, in the making profit side of things, this is where I personally do the heavy lifting, right? I'm already to a place where I can do the heavy lifting and I can help in this make profit strategy. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about this as we go. But I'm a huge believer in groups. I have 2 trade groups, 2 excellent trade groups that have just had a very successful year and has another successful year up ahead. So very, very important to have the support and to have the numbers. Alcoholics Anonymous is not a one-on-one program, right? All of these things, why are there classes? Why would you go to a university and be with a bunch of people? Why would you be in any kind of training or support or any kind of thing one-on-one? There is one-on-one, and that's great for certain types of trainings that need to be done. But for the most part, we need the support of numbers and the support of groups. Okay, so make profit is the first deal. Now, for those that are in my trade group and those that are not in my trade group, if you are trading for a living, you will be doing actually the exact opposite as long as you're profitably trading, right? You're going to be taking money out of your account. If you are not trading for a living, which many are not, and a lot of people, I talk to traders all day, every day, and a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm trading with a $1,000 account, I'm trying to see what I can get done. I've lost $10,000 in the past. I've lost $20,000 in the past. I don't, my husband, my wife won't let me put any more money in a trading account. So I'm just going small and I'm just seeing what I can do. And if I lose it, no one's that traumatized, right? There's kind of that mentality. Has anybody ever lost a frustrating amount of money trading? Anybody? Because the statistics actually are, specifically in Forex trading, that about 75% of traders lose all their money. 75%. So has anybody been part of that 75%? Dickens, good. Thanks for your honesty, man. That's really great. John, yep. Chris, oh yes. Vince, yep. And guess what, guys? I lost a whole gaggle of money when I was learning how to trade, like a lot, and it was painful and it was frustrating, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I don't know why I stuck to it. I ended up doing a lot of things that I should have run away from in the beginning, but I stuck to it, and I'm happy about it. For example, I learned how to ski this year, and it was crazy the first day, and I thought, do I want to go back and do this again the second time? And I did, and it was amazing, and now it's awesome. And trading, anybody would have quit if they went through what I went through in the beginning of trading. Would have quit forever and never come back. I'm so happy I did, because it's given me a lifestyle that I could never, ever imagine. And so that's a tough situation. That's a really tough situation to be in. Ryan, your wife shut you down a few times. We've all been there, my friend. We have all been there. So if you are, this is going to get a little painful, and I want everyone to kind of take a big deep breath here. If you have been in this situation where you're now down to just a small amount of money, maybe you've been burned in the past, maybe whatever's happened, you've got to make those profits first. And the best way to do that is to be in a good position to make profits, right? Be in a trade group that you can trust, that you know works, that has a proven track record. Doing this on your own, as I mentioned, is very tough. So you've got to have step one, or else step two is digging you into a huge hole. That is so super important. Step two on its own is a terrible idea. With step one in place, step two is absolutely necessary. Is everybody super clear on that? That is so important. You cannot do step two without step one. You've got to make profit trading, and then you have to go to step two. I want to make that really, really clear, because if you're just pumping money into your trading account and you're losing it all the time, that's a recipe for a terrible disaster. But step two, with step one in place, is an absolute necessity. So what I will be doing in my trade groups this year, and for all of you, I want you guys to do this as well. I want you to take a moment and look at your personal spending. This is a hard one to do. I have recently done this. I have some financial goals for this year. This year is I've been doing a lot of business things, and the bottom line has not been my biggest focus for a couple of years. And it's kind of going to become the bigger focus this year, because I need a little more, freedom, I guess. I mean, I have a lot of freedom because trading gives you that, but I just thought to myself, I want to really take a look at my own personal spending, and I want to start looking at things that I don't like, that for some reason I'm spending money on, that I really don't care about. And I want to put my money towards the things that I really do care about. Let me give you a little example here. As I was looking at my personal spending, and by my personal spending, I mean, spending of my family, I found out that we spend anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month eating out, right? Restaurants. I'm spending $25,000 to $35,000 a year going to restaurants. Now, that might be fine for some, and for business meetings and so on, restaurants are great. But I looked at that and I thought, I love food. I love really great food. And I have I would consider myself a foodie. Now, am I a $35,000 a year foodie? I don't know, maybe not. And so I looked at that and I thought to myself, guess what? When I take 3 little kids and my wife and we go out and we eat out constantly, it's a nightmare, right? I have a 1-year-old that's throwing food all over the place, and I have another kid that doesn't want to eat, and then we end up just having to go to places where they have menus for kids that they can draw on, because if they can draw, they can sit still for 10 minutes maybe, or maybe 5 minutes. And I thought about it and I go, I hate eating out. I hate eating out. And including, I'm such a picky food person that that I'm starting to go to these places and I think to myself, I can make better food than this. And I'm blowing $100 every time, $150, $75 every time. It's expensive, and exactly, Patty, it's terrible for your health. And I realize I want to be a little healthier this year, and I can't do that at restaurants. I can't be healthier this year. So I look at that and I think, all of a sudden, I can pretty easily cut out, and I won't cut out all eating out, but I can cut out about 90% of it. I can save myself about $30,000 a year and actually be happier doing it. That's pretty intense, right? That's pretty, and you never think, Dickens, I know. I mean, I saw in your email you have a couple little kids, and so it's serious business. So all of a sudden I found I can save myself about $30,000 a year. I can be healthier, and I'm not, doing this terrible waste of money eating out. So there's that. And then, Patty, of course, I thought of you on this one as well. I looked at my own spending and I saw I'm spending like $200 or $300 a month at Starbucks, right? Starbucks. I'm spending all this money at Starbucks. And I realized that is kind of crazy, right? I probably don't need to spend that much money. Yes, buy the stock, not the coffee. So now I can spend about $20 a month and get the same caffeine buzz that I need, right? I don't need to go to Starbucks and spend $300 a month. I can spend $20 a month. And there, I've just saved myself an incredible amount of money. And my quality of life is still very easy, very doable. So don't cut out. You know what, Rick? I went to Cheesecake Factory a couple weeks ago, and I got a salad with no dressing on it. And I swear they still sneak butter or something in there. It was the most interesting. They really get you on that. John had Starbucks for lunch today. Good. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. If you take a little look at your spending, and I never really wanted to. I did what I called bank account budgeting. How much is in my bank account? I'm going to try to spend a little bit less than that, right? And that's how I've done it for a long time, Pay my bills, put some money away, invest a little bit of money, and then just spend all the rest. And when I looked at it, I said, here are things that I want to have. I want to have fun, amazing experiences with my kids and with my family. I want to eat healthy. I want to put money in places I want to put it. It was so easy for me to save tens of thousands of dollars a year in 5 minutes of looking at some of this stuff. And that's what I want you guys to do. I want you to look and I want you to say, where am I spending money? Am I eating out too much? Am I my Starbucks runs? Where can I cut back? Because where you can cut back is where you can add to your trading account. Do you guys know the statistics of compound numbers? If you put $500 a month into a basic index fund that makes 7% a year, compounded over 20 years, it's like $1 million or whatever, right? 20 years, $1 million. Does anybody here wish they had an extra $1 million or think that you could use an extra $1 million in 10 years or 20 years or 5 years or whatever? Anybody here? Anybody need an extra $1 million, or are you guys all good? No need for it. Yes, we all need an extra $1 million. Everybody needs an extra $1 million. There is nobody here that does not need an extra $1 million. I love this song, Dickens. I love it. So what we have to do, you guys, is we have to make some changes. Keep in mind, when I told my wife, I said, my lovely wife, the mother of my children, my eternal life partner, we're not eating out anymore. We cannot do it for these reasons. And she said, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible. And the kickback was intense. But keep in mind, I do cook a lot. I cook dinner like 3 days a week myself, and then she would the other times. And she said, this is a terrible idea. This is terrible. Like when I'm tired and I've been wrangling kids all day, last thing I want to do is know I have to make dinner every single day. And I said, well, first of all, I'll make dinner. And second of all, just trust me. Just go with me on this. And it was kind of scary. I don't want to make a decision for my family that is potentially going to be terrible, right? But I did it. I stuck to it. And 2 weeks in, my wife said, this was the best thing we have ever done. I was so skeptical of it, and it's the best thing that we have ever done. All of a sudden, we're together as a family so much more. We're eating together. Everybody feels better. Our kids are getting way better food. We're saving tons of money, all of this stuff, right? So some of these things can be scary, but look at that income, see where you can cut back, see where you can save money. And if you can take that portion that you would have spent otherwise and put it into a trading account every month, I promise you the end of the year results will be massive. They will be massive, massive, massive. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a second, but this is the process that has to happen. You've got to make profits, and you have got to add to your trading account, and you have to add money to it monthly. Again, if you're a full-time trader and you're successful at trading and all of that, then you probably don't need to be in this webinar. But I'm happy to have you here if that's the case. But if you're not, and you're somebody that's saying, I need to make more money trading, specifically, if you're in one of my trade groups, you said, we made a lot of pips last year, but I didn't feel it so much in my trading account, right? I didn't get as much money in my trading account as I wanted, or I pulled it out, or whatever happened. I want you guys to get on this, and I want you guys to commit to doing this. Cut your spending back, and don't just say, hey, now I've got more money sitting in the bank. Keep the sacrifice going. You've lived on however much you live on right now. You're going to cut money out of eating out or out of whatever thing you can get rid of. Sell a car. I'm not kidding. This is so important, you guys, because I talk to people all day, every day. I have family members. I have friends. I have people that are in serious financial distress. And guess what? It's been going on for years. It's not, we had a tough year. It's, I've had a tough 10 years. And there's no excuse for that. There's no reason for that. And it breaks my heart because, you know, I grew up as a child. My mom was a single mom for a couple of years, and we struggled for a couple of years. And I remember that. We struggled hard. And it was difficult. And I understand the struggle, and I understand the situation that people find themselves in, but you have to start taking action. And if that action is allocating $100 a month to put into your trading account, and you get $1,200 at the end of the year put in your trading account, that is massive progress. If whatever it can be, look at that spending, make those sacrifices, and start putting money into a trading account. Again, it will be a waste of your money, and it will be a waste of your time if you do not have step one in place, which is the support of a group, the success, the track record of knowing you can make money with that money you're putting in there. Everybody good with that? It's a little bit of a rant, but it's so important. This is the thing that I hear every single day. I need to make money. I need money. I need more money. My life is difficult. It's going to take some hard looking in the mirror and saying, if you're in debt, if you're in a bad situation, if you want your financial life to change, you have to do two things. Number one, you have to look at your finances and cut where you can and save where you can. But that's not all of it. People think, oh, I just need to save money. If you live in America, I'm just going to say America, and you have kids and you have a family and all that, and you're making less than $50,000 a year, cutting spending will help, but it's not everything. You have got to find out where you can make more money. So to get yourself out of your financial conundrum, you've got to cut expenses and you've got to make more money. And what I'm suggesting to you is cutting expenses and using those cuts to make more money. That's what we're going to be doing as traders in the 2020 group this year, and I'm so excited about it. Good, Greg, good, excellent. I promise you guys, if you look at your expenses, I would get a spreadsheet, I would get everything and find out if you have credit card payments, car payments, any of that stuff. Start cutting those expenses, sell cars, eat cheaper food, sacrifice this year. That's what I'm inviting you to do, is to sacrifice this year. Cut out as much as you can cut out and put that money towards making a change for your life this year and the year ahead. Good, Chris. That's excellent. That is excellent, and it's so important. So you've got to add to that account. You've got to stay consistent as well. These 3 steps are worthless on their own. If you're just making money, but it's small amounts of money, and you're trading a $1,000 account or a $500 account or a $300 account, it's going to be a slow, long road, right? If you just start pumping money into an account and you're losing money, it's terrible. There's just no way around how terrible that is. If you are pumping money into your account and you're making profits from time to time, but you're not being consistent in doing this, again, this is a tripod. This is a three-legged stool. It does not work without the other. Each of these three steps must happen. Make money, add money to your account, stay consistent, right? Show up, follow instructions, do it for 15 minutes a day or less. That is what I want to promote to you guys. You don't have to, I will do heavy lifting. You don't have to do the heavy lifting. Follow instructions, put in 15 minutes a day, cut your spending, put money into a trading account every month, and I promise you this year will be the best financial year you will have had in a very, very long time. This is a rinse and repeat process. You guys remember the old shampoo commercials? Put the shampoo in your hair, rinse it out, and repeat, right? Which is terrible because I think that shampoo is made of like arsenic or something, so it's probably making your hair fall out. But this is so super important, right? You've got to be able to do all this. And I want everybody to stick to a process, to stick to a repeatable format that you can do for 12 months. These things are going to be like pulling teeth. It's going to be a very difficult thing to do, and there's going to be a lot of excuses, and it's going to be hard to look in the mirror. Do you guys want to know a personal story? I'll tell you. I am the kind of person that really, really, really doesn't like change. I like consistency. I like things to be the same. I don't like change. And not liking change has got me very stuck in many times in my life. And I decided a couple years ago, I need some help with this. I've got to figure out why I get so stuck all the time, why I get so routine, just ridden. I can't get past it. So I decided to meet with basically a business coach / business entrepreneur type therapist, right? And it was very, very interesting. Cost me $1,000 a month, and I did it for a couple of years. And it has paid itself back in spades. It takes a little bit of digging in, and it can even take a lot of bit of outside help for you to be able to look in the mirror and say, there are things that I can and should change. I'm doing things wrong. We're all doing things wrong here. I do things wrong on a regular basis. Not according to me, but according to my wife. But no, just kidding. But I do things wrong on a regular basis. We're all doing something wrong here. But if we're on the right path, we're going to make a lot of wrong moves. I had a very successful year trading last year. 2019 was great success. I traded money for a lot of clients, made them more money than they could have made anywhere at all. I made some great profits in my own accounts. Everything was great, right? I would say that 75% of the time, or I guess you could say 75% of my trades are in the negative. 75% of my trades are always in the negative. And I had a hugely profitable year last year. I was able to close everything out and be totally zero positions open at the end of the year, and reopen some positions as the year started and so on. And 75% of my trades are always in the negative. 75%. There's something about being on the right track, but we're gonna have a lot of wrong-looking things while we're on the right path. You guys know the story of the airline pilots. You know that airlines, these commercial airlines that fly us to all of our fantastic destinations and so on, they have a very specific flight plan, and they're actually off course 90% of the trip. But guess what? They take off from LAX and they land you in Thailand or whatever, safe and sound, alive. They're going the right direction, but it's not a perfect process. That's what trading is. Trading is getting yourself on the right track, but it's not going to be a perfect process, nor should it be. 75% of my trades are always in the negative. And I'm able to make a lot of money, close all my positions out, and always make money. So the repeatable 12-month process that is not an easy one to stick to is about making profits. And in my trade groups, I help with that. And I say help in parentheses because I do all of that. You have to push a button. That's it. Push a button. That's number one. So again, step number 2 doesn't work without step number 1. In my trade groups, I provide essentially a guaranteed step number 1 so that you can do step number 2, which is add money to your trading account. And step number 3, stay consistent. I have my trade group set up so that you can do everything that we do in about 15 minutes a day or less. 15 minutes a day. This isn't about being lazy. This isn't about how to make millions in 15 minutes a day. This is about making big change in your life in 15 minutes every day. It's a big, big deal. It doesn't take a massive life-changing event. It takes 15 minutes every day. It takes following some simple instructions. It takes looking at your spending and cutting out where you're wasting money and putting that money into a trading account. Next year is going to happen, you guys. 2021 is going to happen. And if anybody is dissatisfied with an aspect of their life right now, if you don't take decisive action today, right now, that thing is going to be the exact same in a year. And we don't want that to happen. So what I am providing and offering for everybody here is an opportunity to look at what has changed in the last 12 months and what should change in the next 12 months. I'm just curious, off the top of your heads, guys, does anybody, what changed for you in the last 12 months? Did you have control over it? Was it something that you wanted to change? Was the change for the better? Has anybody had what you would call a significant change in 2019? Anything change for you significantly? Anybody out there? Anybody have an experience? Anybody find themselves going through a job change, a life change, a living change, a marriage change? Anything? Anybody have that experience? And if so, did you have control over this change? That's the question, right? We can't control our lives. Things are going to happen, and it's going to be that way. But in the last 12 months, when I look back at my life, oftentimes the big changes that happened when I felt out of control were things that were a little tiny bit out of my control, right? I had kids. That was a huge change. And all of a sudden my life changed, but I was just kind of trying to hold on and survive, you know? Marriage was a big change. Moving, the times I've moved were big changes. But they weren't things that I necessarily had planned for and was totally ready for, right? They were just things that happened, and they were amazing and wonderful, but it was tough. It was tough. Thanks, James. Thanks. Joining the trade group has been a big change for you. That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. So what I want you guys to think about is what can change in the next 12 months? What can be better for you? And I gave you 3 simple steps. These things are things that we have to do. Make profits, add to your trading account, stay consistent. Just do a little bit every day because, guys, I'm telling you, money isn't everything, but it will change a lot of people's lives. Could your life be different with an extra $2,000 a month, an extra $3,000 a month, an extra $1,000 a month? Would that affect anybody's life? I had somebody that was part of my trade group from an old from back in the day, and they said, I can't afford to stay. And this happens, by the way. There's several people that kind of come and go in my trade groups, right? And they say, I can't afford $99 a month. And I say, okay, totally. There's no shame, right? I 100% get that. We all have expenses. We have life. We have certain things that happen. But I've had people that have done this over the years. Hey, I want to join your trade group. They join up for 3 or 4 months. That was awesome. Thanks so much. I got to go. I can't afford the $99 a month. And I see this pattern over years and years and years, right? So I know that $1,000 a month would affect a lot of people because $100 a month seems to affect people, right? So would this change your lifestyle? Would it help you? Of course it would. Of course it would. So what I want to tell everybody is there is a way, but as I mentioned, there's a very specific process that must be followed. There's a specific process, and if it's not followed, we can have all the desire in the world to change, but if we don't do it correctly, it is going to be tough. Change, our bodies, our brains, our everything, we're wired not to change, to stay consistent, stay safe, stay on track. We're not wired for change and for new things. And so Doing any kind of change is tough, but if you don't have the support of others, it is next to impossible. So as I've said, help is on the way. Help, support, guidance, tips, assistance of all types. It's all here. That is, and I promise, guys, this isn't a shameless pitch for my trade groups. This is, I have a method for you to affect the change that we have just talked about, to have a different, better, amazing year. And this is what we're going to be doing in my trade groups. We're going to be doing these 3 steps. Last year in 2019, I run 2 trade groups, and these are conservative numbers because I dumbed these down a little bit because I know there were trades that not everybody was able to get into and so on. But between my 2 trade groups, I produced 7,000 pips last year. 7,000 pips. And that's about, funny enough, it was pretty equally 3,500 to 4,000 pips for each trade group last year. Now there's different approaches for the 2 trade groups, but 3,500 to 4,000 pips. Again, the 3,500 is kind of the conservative, but I have 2 trade groups. I made about 3,500 to 4,000 pips each trade group last year. And these were not the same trades. 99% of these trades were different from the 2 groups. So I produced 7,000 to 8,000 pips last year. And I've done it the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. And I'm going to do it this year, and I'm going to do it next year, and so on, right? I have no doubt in my ability to trade these markets. I've been doing it for almost 20 years. You can only see so many tricks before you just realize that it's all the same. You just get used to it. So I trust in my consistency and my ability to be able to do this. What we will be doing in these trade groups is quarterly goal reviews. Is everybody cutting their spending? Is everybody adding to their trade accounts? Is everybody showing up for at least a couple of minutes every day and following these trades? If you will, the result is huge. If I produced 7,000 pips last year, if you were a member of one of my trade groups and you followed just one or the other, and let's say we went with the conservative numbers of 3,500. If you followed my trades at $1 a pip, you would make $3,500 in the year of trading with me, right? $3,500 at $1 a pip. If we do a little bit of compounding, every time you make profit, you trade a little bit larger, $1.50 a pip, $2 a pip, as you're adding to your trade account every single month because you've cut out Starbucks or eating out, or you got rid of one of your cars so that you could put that $500 car payment towards going into your trading account. Now we're talking your trade account compounds, and these $3,500 a pip per trade group turns into, instead of $1 a pip, it turns into $5 a pip, it turns into $10 a pip, and now we're talking $35,000 in a year, $3,000 a month, right? Would that change your life? Would that be something? I think so. Greg, that's great. That's great. And I'm glad your numbers are very, very consistent here. Greg is a member of both of my trade groups, and he made over 8,000 pips last year with the group last year. Never leaving these groups. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. That's awesome. What an endorsement. I really appreciate that. And it makes me very excited to hear that that's how it's been for you. So that's awesome, Greg. And Greg is a prime example. Greg has actually sent me, and I have emailed out some of Greg's results because he sent me results on his account saying, started with this amount, it's up to this amount. And the percentages are ridiculous. I think you're like hundreds of percent of growth over the year in your account. I mean, it's amazing. So this is what we're talking about, guys. You can take $500 a month and you can put it in an index fund that makes 8% a year, right? That makes 8% a year, and that's pretty good. Or you can follow these trade recommendations with a proven method, and you can be like Greg that made 300% last year. You can make 8%, or you can make 300%. So this is what I'm talking about. These are the changes that have to happen, and it is such small steps, you guys. It's such small steps. It is doing It's making some profits. That's my job. Adding money to your trading account every month. That's your job. Staying consistent. That's all of our jobs. We check in on each other. So what I want to make sure of is that everybody has some form to do quarterly goal reviews. In both of my trade groups, this will be happening. Is everybody putting money in their accounts? Is everybody showing up and looking at the trades and following the recommendation? Is everybody sticking with the program? And we're going to have check-ins, and we're going to have very specific webinars and sessions to discuss this and look over this and keep everybody on track. Like I said, doing this kind of thing on your own, very difficult. Very, 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 very difficult. I ran the scanner group for the last year and a half, and it's been wildly successful. And I've run my other group for the last 10 years, and it has been wildly successful. This is nothing new. This is what we're going to do in 2020. So my live trade group, which is the scanner group, we do 10 to 12 live webinars a year, right? We're talking all yearly things. Once every 4 to 6 weeks, we try to do a webinar and get together and make sure everyone's on track. But more importantly than that, these webinars, whenever I do a regular webinar, I've done a lot of paid webinars for people, and it's always $100 or $150 a person to join a webinar. You get 10 to 12 of them. That's at least a $1,000 value. That's pretty serious business. My trade recommendations, the reason I call this a $3,500 value is because if you trade $1 a pip, you'll make $3,500 in probably a worst case scenario. If you can trade a little bit more than that, you make $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 from being in with us in these trade groups. It's pretty hard to not make all of your money back and then some. But it's more important than just the money, guys. If you have a $2,000 account today and at the end of the year you have a $15,000 account, that is a huge, huge achievement. But what's going to come more than that? What would you rather have? $1 million or the knowledge of how to make $1 million? Because in a very worst case scenario, you're going to pay for this group 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times in profits, but you're going to learn 1,000,000 times what is important about being successful. I have had to claw my way through this. I've had to figure a lot of it out on my own. I've had some help along the way, but I have had to majorly figure this out. And I've done it, and I want to share this with you guys. I'm so passionate. There's not a lot of things I'm passionate about. Surfing, skiing now, and I'm very passionate about helping people with their money situations. It breaks my heart to hear about people with money struggles, and I know so many of them, and it just doesn't need to be the case. Roy, who's in our trade groups as well, up 129% last year for $3,500 in profit with 1 loss and trading 40 cents a pip. Good grief. That is so awesome, Roy. I love it, man. I love it. 1 loss on 84 trades for a 98% win ratio. Roy, that's awesome, my man. That is so, so awesome. That is so great, you guys. And these are members of my trade groups. The success stories are amazing. They're fantastic. I'm taking screenshots because I'm going to look at these when I need motivation. That's so awesome, you guys. Knowledge is absolutely power. This is how it has to be done. And this is what I'm offering for all of you guys this weekend, is an opportunity to change how this year is going to be. I will have a lot of rants and a lot of things in my webinars that I want to share with you guys that I'm coming across. My wife told me the other day, she said, as I mentioned, 2020 is kind of this year where I want money to be very, very different. It's funny how expensive 3 kids can be. I make 10 times the national average income, and somehow we spend it all. We spend it all. And I look at that and I think to myself, it's crazy. And it took time for me to be able to really, man up and look at what I was doing and look at my spending and be able to make the changes. And I've gotten so passionate about it. My wife told me, she said, let's go on a date, and will you please talk about anything other than money? And I said, okay, I'll try. So I'm sorry you guys have to listen to my rant. I have, just to let you guys know how this can seem very overwhelming, and it's actually not. I have a big money goal for this year, pretty big money goal. And I thought, I can do this. It was hard getting my wife on board. And we just committed. We said, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And one of my big money goals for the entire year of 2020, I've accomplished about 35 or 40% of it in the first 2 weeks of the first month of the year. I have the whole year to do this goal, and I'm almost halfway through it, halfway through the first month of the year. When you buckle down and do this, big changes can happen from small little things. It's incredible. So daily trade recommendations, a minimum $3,500 value. There's just no way that that's any less. I will meet with you at least once, and in some cases a little bit more, for 30 minutes to go over your goals in a one-on-one session. This is a personal one-on-one session. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. You can ask any questions you want to ask. We talk and we cover what we're going to do for the year and how we're going to make this amazing and how we're going to use this strategy and how you can really do it in a handful of minutes every single day. It's very, very difficult for me to find the time to do one-on-one sessions, and I get everybody in, and I charge a lot of money for them. They go up every year. They double. I do one-on-one sessions with a lot of people, and my fee goes, I double it every single year because my time is getting less and less, and I really want to make sure I can share what I have learned through a lot of blood, sweat, and tears with everybody that is in the same boat that wants to learn that stuff. And that is part of it. So the package that is available today is excellent. $1,000 worth of webinars, $400 worth of one-on-one sessions, and at least $3,500 worth of trade recommendations. If I make the same amount of pips this year as I made last year, I will be disappointed. But I think I can do at least, in the very worst case scenario, at least 10% better. But I think we can double it. I think we can double it. So all of this, almost a $5,000 value. You have the opportunity to hook up with everything for $399, guys. I promise you, this is the last webinar and the last opportunity to join the scanner group for $399. The new price is going to be double, and I don't do this because I'm a bad, angry person, but because I want everybody to value what I offer. And this is the last opportunity to sign up for the scanner group for $399. And if you sign up now, you can be grandfathered and stay in the group for $399 a year for as long as you want. But it will be $799 a year starting next month. So, and there's only a couple of days to sign up this round. So I want to make sure everybody gets an opportunity, but I really, more than anything, want to make sure that you guys are given the ingredients that you need to have an amazing year this year. Money isn't everything, and people say, I don't focus on money. I don't want to talk about money. I don't, whatever. You got to do it. Money the business that you have will make all the difference in your life. It will make the difference in your marriage. It'll make the difference in your parenting. It'll make the difference in your day-to-day interactions. Making $1 million a year versus making $250,000 a year is not going to raise your happiness level. But making $100,000 a year versus making $50,000 a year will be noticeable. You've got to be able to accomplish these things, and it's not that difficult, and I'm here to help. I have the tools, I have the proven track record, and I have the format and everything for everybody to do this. It's only up to you whether you want next year to be exactly like this year, or if you want next year to be something completely different. So within all of my trade groups, all of those that are members of the trade groups, this will all be incorporated this year in the groups. I want everybody that has had a successful, great, wonderful, awesome, fantastic year to have twice the successful, great, awesome, fantastic year that you had. And for those that are not in my trade groups, this is an opportunity to get on board with something that will change your life. So I'm so happy to share this stuff with you. Chris, that is the truth. Money isn't everything unless you don't have any. That is absolutely for sure. So this is the path we will be on for 2020, and I'm so excited about it. I am so jazzed about it. I am so passionate about this. This is where I want to take you guys, and I know that improving your finances will make all the difference. People might say, here's somebody trying to sell me something and promise that I'll get out of debt. Nope. As we talked about, this is a two-step process. You got to cut spending and you've got to make more money. And this is how you will make more money. So I'm so thankful for you guys to be on here with us for the last hour. I hope it was helpful. The webinar on Saturday morning will cover something very, very excellent, and I hope you can make it. This is part 1, and Saturday morning will be webinar part 2. It will be at 7 a.m. Pacific time, so I hope you can join us and be there. I will send out email reminders and get you all the details to that. But make sure, guys, visit this website right here, dtfx.co/15 minutes daily. And that's this site right here. This is how you can join us in the scanner group. This is a great group. This is such a great opportunity to turn your trading around. So head over there. I pasted the link right there in the chat. Have a look at that. You can also access it right here. Here is, by the way, here's the totals that I have kept from our trades in the scanner group. Closed out with 60 to 65 pips. Sometimes we get various entries of give or take 5 pips. Closed with 55 to 60 pips, 185 to 90 pips, 110 to 130 pips, 95 to 100, 85 to 90. Just over and over and over again, we're just making some pip after pip after pip. And it's awesome. So we had a really, really positive, successful year in the group. As Greg said, it's in both groups, made 8,000 pips. Roy made thousands and thousands of pips. It's the way to do it, guys. So the open enrollment for the scanner group will be today, tomorrow, and it will end on Sunday. So you have a couple of days to think about it. We'll have another webinar Saturday morning talking a little bit more about how we're going to do this and how this is all going to work. Thanks for being on with us, guys. Does anybody have any questions before we wrap it up? Any questions, any thoughts, any comments, anything at all? Everybody feel okay about that? Everyone feeling good? Any questions? Any questions? Thanks, Susan. Thank you. John, thanks, my man. Thank you, thank you. Great, thank you, Susan. Thank you. See you Saturday indeed. Chatan, scanner, or other group? This is for the scanner group. Yep. Personal feedback, John. I've loved the first week of the scanner group. Thanks, my man. That's awesome. Thank you, Greg. This is the scanner group. This is the scanner group, Dory. And this is the one that is $3.99 a year. $3.99 a year. Thanks, Dickens. Thanks, my man. Both are different. Yes, yes, there are some differences, and I will talk about those differences on Saturday. So there's lots to learn, lots to do. Dennis, thanks, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Dennis is in both groups. A lot of people are in both of my trade groups, and that's awesome. Yes, I will talk more about the other trade group on Saturday. Absolutely. Abso-positively. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Thanks for being on. You guys are awesome. Take care. We'll see you guys Saturday. Thanks, guys.